Flights are pricey, planning feels chaotic, and that family trip keeps getting pushed. I hear it every day from business owners and busy professionals, and I felt it too. I'm Ross, the founder of Itinerary Boss, and your host. After 10 plus years of planning work and personal trips to over 20 countries, I became the guy who found the deals and turned points into upgrades. This show helps you turn everyday business and personal spend into points and miles for premium travel. Each week, you'll get step by step tactics and short episodes, plus expert guests with specific use cases tied to your most asked questions for travel plans that'll help support your business, goals, and your life. Go ahead and grab the free Points and Miles cheat sheet in the show notes to speed up your learning. And now, on with the show. Welcome back to another episode of World Travel Made Easy. On this week's episode, I'm excited to have Steve Domino. He is the co founder of Crew. I got the pleasure of meeting Steve out in Portland at FinCon. And after we had some conversations, just really love what they're doing. It's going to be really super valuable for someone who is wanting to get the right foundation from a monetary standpoint in place, have some simple automations. And for those of you who either have kids or are having kids, being able to set up some automatic allowances for them. So, really excited to dive into this today with Steve. Hey, Steve, how's it going today?
Great, Ross. So excited to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on and just being able to simplify money management for families and just show people how they can do some smarter banking, so then they can travel a little bit more. So, for someone who's never heard of Crew, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so Cruise a banking app, kind of at the core. Sometimes we're called a neobank or a fintech bank, but essentially, we've partnered with a bank to provide really cool software on top of their banking platform.
Awesome, awesome. What made you start Crew?
Yeah, two things really led to Crew. For years, I used a regular bank just like everybody else. I remember going with my dad to open my first bank account. I banked there for years, decades, really. And it was never a great experience. Like I was never excited about banking. Over time, my financial needs kind of grew and became more complex. I needed to open and close accounts. I wanted to be able to do it online. I needed budgets. I had kids. I needed accounts for them, and even simple things like mobile check deposit. You had to go into the branch for that. And I just kept asking myself, like, why is it like this? What if a bank could provide a really cool modern tool or modern tools with all the technology we have today? So that was kind of like that planted the seed for Crew, I think, kind of early on. And then the second thing that ultimately led to Crew was prior to starting Crew, I worked at a company called Divvy. Divvy is an expense management tool for small businesses. Its kind of core thing was it offered virtual cards attached to budgets, and so the financial people of a company, could issue spend to their employees and kind of make it really easy to track that without expense management. Um, I remember my first day there. I was being shown around the office. People were telling me about Divvy, and I was like, "Wow, hold on, can I use this for myself? This is exactly what I've been looking for." And everyone's like, no, that everybody says that, but unfortunately it's just for businesses. So that day I promised myself that I would eventually work my way up into Divvy to be in a position where I could start the branch of Divvy that did a consumer product. Anyway, it never happened, but while at Divvy, I met our founder, Gentry, and we both had kind of these similar feelings that why doesn't something like this exist? So, we left and started Crew, and here we are now.
That's awesome. I love this story because, right, you lived it, you saw the challenge, and you're passionate about it. And for you, it was a that personal story of you had to go in and deal with some of the, just legacy banks who are just, right, they just weren't putting in all the things that you wanted. And on the business side, right, you wanted to help one yourself out, but two other people who most likely probably run into the same problem. So I love this story. How does Crew? Because a lot of our listeners either they are couples who are married, they're just getting married, they're starting to have kids, they have kids, they're wanting to travel more, but they want a foundation that just makes their life simpler, right? And especially in the finance world and the credit card points and miles world, there's so much stuff online that overcomplicates it. It all just comes down to putting in a simple process and having that foundation. And that's why, right, I wanted to bring you on. But how does it actually simplify, right, banking, automating finances, helping families share expenses?
Yeah, kind of our philosophy is we want to kind of bring all of the tools together in one place because when they're all there together, you kind of have this deeper oversight and insight into your finances. And so, as we were building Crew, we just asked ourselves, what if a bank were built today? What tools and features would it offer? And what features do we need that we're not getting from existing institutions? And we just built those, which that's kind of my favorite part of Crew is I get to use it every day. And so I get to say, yes, this is working. No, this isn't. Let's add these things. But really at its core, it's a beautiful, easy to use app and it just kind of works in the way you need it to. It's really intuitive and it does all the things you need it to do. So, but to answer your question specifically, like the things that really make it to simplify and automate finances are, we have pockets is what we call them, which is how you can kind of split your money into different places so you can kind of keep track of it. And then we have our automation rules that help you kind of fund your pockets and then kind of track your spending. And those two things together, are really powerful kind of concepts that we've added into Crew.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think it's always helpful. And I know we were talking, we can go ahead and fire up, sharing for those watching on Spotify and YouTube, but just being able to see the visual, I think that, that does it more justice. So people can see some of those pockets, some of those automations, things like that.
Yeah, let me get this fired up here real quick and I'll share my screen. Okay, perfect.
Cool. I can see you.
Awesome. So yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about kind of how Crew works and just ask any questions that you have or tell me to dive into anything you want to know more about. But so this is like our banking home screen. So you can see your overall account balance here, and then you can see our pockets that we have here. You have your primary pocket, which is Crew checking. This is a high yield checking account. And then we've set up some other pockets here for fun money or entertainment, bills, and savings. Um, and so the cool thing about this is as I go to spend money, I can determine which pocket I want to spend out of. So now, when I swipe my card, you can see that I'm spending out of my bills pocket, or maybe I want to spend out of, this fun money entertainment pocket. And so, the money I swipe will come right out of this pocket. If I don't have a pocket set, then the transaction will be declined. If I don't want that to happen, I can change it so that it will allow overspending and things like that in case I don't want the pocket to decline. But the power of this really is, when I'm budgeting in the app where my money exists, it's not like I'm budgeting over here in some other with some other app and then budgeting and then I have my money over here. Coupling them together really is what brings the power of being able to spend responsibly or just kind of like save money and build that kind of deep foundational layer that really helps you get off on a good start. And then couple that with things like these autopilot rules. Um, where I'm just going to skip through the demo here, where I can create a rule that says, for example, when a paycheck comes in, when the money arrives, if it's over a certain amount, put 20% into savings, 10% into giving, and some extra money into like bills or something like that. And this automation is where kind of that second layer of that power comes into play, where I'm programming my money in exactly the way I need it to. So I'm programming the way money comes in, splitting it into bills to kind of establish that foundation. And then when I spend money, I'm way more conscious of how I'm spending my money. And it's coming out of the places where I designate it to. So I'm allocating that money for its purpose.
Okay. That's super helpful. And I think that again, it just goes back to, hey, I wanted to take a quick break to say thank you so much for tuning into the show. The only way the show grows is through listeners like you helping us share it. So if you're enjoying the show, it'd mean the world to me if you hit that 5-star rating, shared it with a friend or family member who's ready to travel more, save money, or just needs a little bit more inspiration and that nudge. And if you're posting about it on Instagram, go ahead and tag Itinerary Boss, and we'll make sure to reshare it and shout you out for giving us a shout out. Thanks so much for the support. It truly means a lot. And now back with the show. Setting things up, I think having to do, when you're on your own and you have minimal expenses, it's pretty easy, right? Hey, here's what comes in. This is right. And it's just, I mean, not everyone does a great job of it, but if you put the right foundation in place, it makes it a little easier. Once you start
Hmm.
to add, right, more people, whether that's, you're getting married, whether that's you have kids, you have combined accounts, right? You buy a home, you have different expenses, right? You get dogs. There's
Hmm.
just a lot of different complexities. So having something, it just goes back to everything, right? Systems make your life easier. So I
Yep.
think that's That's amazing. Just the automations and how you can do that and the percentages. So how do you set like so just for me, you would get so say you get a $5,000 paycheck each
Hmm.
every 2 weeks. That would then go into your checking. You would then say, I want 10% to go towards fund money. That automatically would go to the fund money bank. Say you have 2,000 in bills, that would automatically flow to that, and then savings. So you would put those triggers you would set up right from the start, and that's exactly how that would go.
Yep. So I'll say, when a paycheck happens, I want it to, look in the checking pocket. So when money arrives into checking from any sender, or I can determine if I want it to be from my, whoever's sending me the paycheck. Then I can say if it's over a certain amount or within a range. Next, I say what I want it to do. I can split the deposit, or I can have it transfer money and I can have it notify me. So we'll say split deposit. I can split by percent or amount. And then, so let's just say for amount, and then I want any leftover to go to stay in the checking pocket, or I can have it go somewhere else, maybe into a savings pocket. And then I just start adding splits. So I can say I want, $50 to go into fund money. And then, you know, I need $1,000 to go into bills or whatever. And that's kind of how that's just all works out. And then we name the rule, and then that's it. I've created this rule here that will automatically kind of put my money exactly where I need it to be as I'm budgeting my actual money.
That's easy. That you don't have to do all the mental gymnastics that flow into it when you have all those different things. That's awesome. And I use just a side note, like I use ConvertKit for email marketing, and like you can set up those specific things, and it's like it just makes it very easy when you start to set up specific automations and rules. Just that way you don't have to worry about it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It helps like you said, having a process, helps you stick to the process and stick to your own rules when you can automate them.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, that's I like to use the analogies of either, right, people are getting married, they are married, they have kids. We just got married 6 months ago, and it's like just going through that process of, okay, cool, here's how we want to have this structured now that we're married. Here's joint accounts. Here, like combining those things, it takes time to sit down and do it. Once you do it, it's like, okay, cool, this is on repeat. But if again, it's that process. But again, when you have kids, it's like that just brings in a whole another right ball game. Are there any specific like use cases, wins from people who starting using Crew who weren't that have kids that you guys can share about?
Yeah, so Crew, initially Crew started as kind of like a family banking app. And we realized, there's a lot more here that could benefit everybody instead of just families. So we kind of broadened it. But because we started there, we have a really good suite of tools already in place for um, people who are coming in together, spouses or whoever it may be parents, and then for kids as well. And so, just as an example, this account here that you're seeing is a joint account that I might have with a spouse or a partner. They see this exact same stuff that I see. They have the same controls. It's really cool because previously, I kind of managed our family's finances as like the family CFO, you might say, and my wife kind of it was overwhelming for her to kind of get into it. So she just kind of, trusted me that, with all this stuff. But now as she's using Crew, she can come in and it's really accessible, really easy for her to kind of to see all this stuff, to be engaged in our finances, which I love. And then, we can add our kids here as well, where it's extremely easy for me to add additional kids here. There's no age limits, for example. That's another thing that I came up against, trying to do this at regular institutions was, you have to have certain age limits and all these requirements to add kids. We were able to work out a really cool deal with our bank that they're like, we'll let you add kids of any age. These are real bank accounts they're getting with account numbers and routing numbers. Um, so I get to oversee their spending. And then, with older children, if they have their own phone, this is a view that they get. So they get to see on their phone kind of their own banking experience, which is really cool for them to learn money early on with parental oversight. And they get a lot of the same features I do. So they can, create pockets. This pocket you can see here is kind of locked. It's because it's in what's called piggy bank mode. So I can put money into this account or this pocket. My child can put money into this pocket, but they can't spend money out of it. So it's really great for like locking down savings. But they get the same experience that I get as a parent. We have automated allowances that we can send to the kids. So yeah, it's a really great, it's cool that we were able to build on this really strong foundation of like this family tool because families have really complex finances. And now that we've kind of broadened it and made it available to everybody, we just kind of have these leftover really cool tools that are great for families as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think the allowance piece is cool. And that, I mean, it holds a special place in my heart because, I grew up, I got an entrepreneur start early, started my cutting company, started putting money into CDs, would have to drive up to SunTrust, right, before it was, before them and BB&T merged and, right, created, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even remember who they created. That's need more coffee today. But but having to do that taught me that, but I didn't get to see it right then and there. So being able to see that, if you have an allowance, if you get to see it kind of grow, that teaches good habits. And again, it goes down to that foundation, and you can see, right, bills, savings, giving, like you
Mhm.
start to get those things in place. So I think that's awesome, not only from a parental standpoint of, oh, this is just easy. My kid gets $10 a week.
Yep.
That's another really good tool. Are there any, I know a lot of people just like budgeting apps, joint banking. There's other tools out there. Like what you touched on a little bit at the beginning, but what makes Crew a little bit different than those?
Yeah, great question. And there are a lot of other really great tools out there. Like for kids' finances, you might find something like Greenlight, or for budgeting, there's Monarch and YNAB and all of these other tools that are really great tools, and they're filling a really important need. And the need that they're filling is something that, because traditional banks aren't offering these tools to their customers, you spin up these companies that kind of fill in those gaps. And so our philosophy here is like, if your bank did those things for you, you wouldn't need to have your finances kind of spread across this financial stack of 3 or 4 different apps that maybe you're paying subscriptions to. And so that's why we want to bring these things into Crew as much as we can, so that you have a single place where you're kind of managing your family's finances. And the thing that makes us different fundamentally is when you have your I think I touched on this a little bit previously, but if I'm have all of my budgeting in Monarch or YNAB, and I have all my money in like Chase, there's nothing really stopping me from just kind of blowing through my budget, and then at the end of the month or whatever, I go into my budget and I feel really bad that I overspent in all these categories, and it's really difficult to be accountable when your budget is not tied to your money. But when you bring those together in one place, and I cannot spend what I don't budget, then suddenly it's empowering for people, and it's really helpful for them to kind of see their budget, to spend directly out of their budget, and then we stop you from overspending.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really important. And I think that's a great breakdown. For, I mean, a lot of our listeners are, they love to travel hack. They love to just travel hack. They're entrepreneurs. They love to travel. They love credit cards. They love rewards. How does Crew kind of fit into that ecosystem?
Yeah, great question. I think we want to be your primary banking account, your primary checking account. And so you'll always have like credit cards and other sort of things that you might be using, especially if you are trying to get primary kind of capitalize on some of these reward systems. And so we've made it really easy to link Crew with other apps and other systems so that you can, kind of see those rewards. At the end of the day, though, having it all in one place, you'll be able to see kind of what you're spending on other cards. You'll see your rewards through those other systems, but you'll be paying those through Crew, and we have another one of my favorite features here is we have what we call the month in review, where at the end of every month we give you kind of a review of all of your money spent coming in, all of your money coming in, all of your money going out. We list the top merchants you spent at by amount, the top merchants you spent at by number of transactions. And so we try and give you this overview of kind of where all your expenses were. And so that will could hopefully help people who are trying to maximize on some of these things, kind of see where this money's going, and the places that they're getting these rewards from.
Yeah, and I no, that's super helpful. And I think it's important for people who are just getting started out too, who maybe they say, you know what, I only have one card and I put all my bills on it. It's just a simple, it earns 2 times the points, but I want to travel, I want to get rewarded. How do I pay that? And it sounds like, that would be from that bills bucket. Say it was $1,000 a month that's just recurring on that card, you would automatically set that up. It would pay it off on, October 20th, which is the state, and let's just say that's the balance. It would pay that off and you would just set that up so it would be recurring and you could really just have a good foundation and you would earn rewards on that.
Yeah, and really the coolest thing is as you set up as you get these different cards that you're trying to get rewards out of, yeah, you could set up pockets that match to them one to one, right? And fund them exactly as much as you need to spend off of those cards when you pay them off, and it pays it all automatically, like you said.
Nice, nice. Yeah. I think I would need to do a little deeper dive since we have a little more advanced strategies on our end. But I think for the beginner listener, like
Yeah,
it's
for
you
sure.
have one or two cards, like that shows how easy it is.
Yep.
Cool. Very cool. What about, I know you guys mentioned you might be working on a crew credit card. Is that something that you guys are doing or that's on the horizon?
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely working on a credit card, and our credit card is we hope it'll be a little bit unique where we want to offer rewards like any other credit card. However, we want it to function more like a debit card. So, where your debit card is spending directly the money that you have in the account, a credit card is credit, right? So you're spending money that isn't there and you'll pay it off in some other way. The way we want to make this card work, we're calling it a smart charge card, is we'll have you pay it down daily or weekly. And anytime you spend, we'll kind of earmark those funds in your account to pay off that card. And the power with this is it doesn't let you spend money you don't have, but you still get all the benefits of rewards for spending on a credit card. You still get the credit building, if that's something that is important. And then we don't want you paying outrageous interest rates. We just want you to get all the benefits of a credit card with none of the drawbacks.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think that's super important for people. I mean, yeah, I think that just from the news I was reading the other, or something that I heard on Motley Fool, who I listened to, it's like credit card debt is at its highest ever. And it's because people have an overspending problem. So I think it's, getting the right, again, it goes back to the foundational pieces. It's getting those things in place while also being rewarded. Like that's a double win.
Yeah, rewarding people for good behavior is the
Yeah,
best possible way to
exactly.
do change, right? And it's
Yeah.
like it's the same problem as with budgeting. Your budget's over here, your bank's over here, your credit card's up here, and so out of sight, out of mind, right? You don't see these things all together in one place, and so it's hard for you to connect the fact that maybe you're spending more than you should
Yes.
be.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're not, I mean, obviously I, nerd out on points and miles and like this, I
Yeah.
don't have, but most people don't enjoy doing that. And like that's extra work for them. So yeah, for the everyday consumer, it's perfect and you're getting rewarded. And I know that's awesome what you guys have built. And then there's another thing too, that I want to make sure we hit on is the high yield savings account, right? You're getting rewarded, you're doing all the right things, but also maybe you don't want to go invest, in single stocks yet, or you aren't as familiar as you're starting to learn, right? Just high, index funds, low cost index funds. Like, what do you guys provide there from a high yield savings account? And then are there specific automations that people can set up?
Yeah, and I love this question because yeah, traditionally, many banks don't offer a yield, and so any money you have sitting at the institution, they just kind of keep the interest that your money is earning. And so yeah, we offer a 3.45% APY today on the checking account that you open with Crew, and we share all that interest back with you. We keep very little of it, just to help us operate, and then so really the value of that is, you have money that you're using every day if it's maybe not locked up, you have bills, expenses, you have things like that. And so that money should be earning money for you as well. And then the automation part that really makes that valuable is you can automate paying all those bills. You can automate, you can avoid things like overdraft fees if you're trying to move money between accounts to account for bills and things like that. Your money is just all sitting in one place, earning a great interest rate, split between pockets, and it's just kind of all the Crew software that helps you kind of automate that stuff and avoid account fees and overdraft fees and late fees at institutions where you didn't pay on time because you forgot about the bill. So yeah, it's just a really, I don't know, I'm probably biased here, but it's just a really great piece of software that I think everyone should try out.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, yeah, and that's why, right? I wanted to bring you on because when we met, I'm like, okay, I mean, this is a huge need, in the budgeting, in the finance space, just in everyone's lives and right seeing different paths and just making it super simple. And that's what right I try to do here is it's not about just getting 15, 20 credit cards and going and maximizing as much as possible. It's like doing what is best for you, if that's one, if that's two, if that's three, and focusing
Hmm.
on you, but also going back to it, if you're going to pay interest on that, there's no reason to get credit cards and use points if you're not paying it down and you don't have the money. So it
Yeah.
comes down to that, right? That finance foundation. And then once you build those things up, it's then getting right rewarded for those. So that's exactly why, right? I thought this would be a great episode. Is there a cost for crew for people?
Oh, great question. No, crew is free, and we hope to be able to keep it that way. We feel like we don't want to put anything that's going to help benefit people financially behind a paywall because we're already all struggling with that stuff anyway. So, yeah, we want crew to be free as long as possible. And so right now you can sign up and it's not going to cost you anything.
Cool. And where can people find you guys online? Where can they get signed up today?
Yeah, you can find us at trycrew.com. And the Crew app is in any of the phone stores, App Store, the Google Play Store. And then if people sign up using your code that we set up for you, Itinerary Boss, they'll get a 3-month 0.5% APY boost in their account. So that'll be 3.95% today on that high yield checking account for three
Sweet. Yeah.
months.
And listeners, we will make sure to share that in the show notes. That way you can earn a little bit of interest on that. And if anyone has any questions, please go find Steve and the crew team online, and they'll be happy to help. I'm excited to share this with our audience. And Steve, really appreciate you coming on today, sharing a ton of valuable tips, sharing your screen so we could see it in action. And listeners, if this is your first time checking out the podcast, make sure you give us a follow or subscribe. That way you don't miss any upcoming episodes that we put out weekly. And make sure you share with a family or friend. That's how we help grow the show. And if you are feeling friendly today, give Steve a 5-star review. I think he deserves it. And that also helps us just keep this show going and bring an awesome guest on like him. For everyone tuning in, we appreciate it. And we will see you next week. Thanks again, Steve.
Yep. Thanks, Ross. We'll see you.